Hi everyone, I'm Michael Uriarty, or Dr. Mike, and welcome to Technique Talk, the MYK System, and more. This is episode 5 in our series of comparing and contrasting other techniques with the MYK System. Today, we're going to talk about active isolated stretching, or AIS. If you want to know more about either technique, I have the website links in the description below. Whether you're a patient looking to get help or a practitioner looking for a good technique to learn, this series is for you. Let's dive in. How did AIS start? Active isolated stretching was developed by Aaron Mattis. There's not a lot of information about his early life. He was a Midwestern boy. I believe he was born in Iowa. So, he's honest, hard-working guy from the Midwest. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree from Wisconsin State University in 1970, and then said, wait a minute, I can still learn more. I really like going to these classes, staying up late, studying all the time, and getting quizzed and tested on what I know. Now, personally, I can relate to that. Not that I was like that, but I knew some people that were like that. We didn't run in the same circles. Me and my friends, we were more like the dead-end kids from a 1938 Jimmy Cagney classic, Angels with Dirty Faces. But I digress. Aaron went on to get his Master's of Science degree with emphasis in kinesiology and kinesiotherapy from the University of Illinois in 1972. When he got into practice, he started seeing some of the limitations of traditional stretching. He noticed that it didn't provide the desired improvements in flexibility and function, and sometimes even caused injury. He played around with using specific sequence of movements to isolate individual muscles to enhance the effectiveness of each stretch. Over time, he adjusted the techniques based on results, which led to the development of a structured and systematic approach. He combined his academic knowledge, clinical experience, and trying different approaches to develop an effective stretching methodology. That's cool. I like that. I'm going to try and give you different aspects, different sections of how I developed the MYK system in different talks so you don't hear the same thing over and over again. So the quickest way to say how I developed the MYK system is that I took my chiropractic education of how to be as specific as I can in trying to move one bone one way to impact one nerve, and I applied this to the muscular system. So how can I treat the muscles in a specific way to try and impact one nerve pathway? I'll explain more later. What is the theory and philosophy of active isolated stretching? It's funny because the website for AIS doesn't provide as much information as you would think. I did find a little blurb on the website that says, AIS is an athletic stretching technique that provides functional and physiological restoration of superficial and deep fascial planes. Now, I chose to talk on active isolated stretching to get away from the superficial and the deep fascial planes because the last two soft tissue techniques that I talked about dealt with that. So right now I feel a little bit like Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 3. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. All right. So I did find an article written by Ben Benjamin, and I think he teaches as well. So I'm going to put that on the list and see what I can find out about him. But anyway, here's what the article says. How does AIS work? So it differs from other stretching and strengthening programs in several aspects, and this article talks about 7 different aspects. So number 1 is the specificity, how specific it is. AIS is designed to precisely target individual muscles or even parts of muscles rather than large groups of muscles. For example, If you bend over and try and touch your toes, that'll stretch the hamstrings on the back of your legs as a whole group. AIS will use 6 different stretches to hit the top and bottom of these muscle fibers, along with the inside, the middle, and the outside portions. Now it's making sense on how he came up with the name active isolated stretching. This is the isolated part. I catch on pretty quick here. So he has more than 170 separate stretches in the AIS program. That's a lot. That is a lot of stretches. So with the MYK system, we also try and be specific, not only with which muscles we treat during a treatment, but also how we do it. So we do get into things like, bring your arm across in front of you, and maybe you'll do it with the palm up or the palm down, and that puts a little bit more stretch on or more emphasis on one muscle over the other. But we certainly don't have 170 of those things. So I do find that pretty cool, 170 different moves to get really, really specific. So I do like that. Number 2 is active initiation. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that this is going to be the active part of the active isolated stretching. Yeah, I went to school. All right, so each movement is initiated by the client and the practitioner helps. So I get it. They get into reciprocal inhibition. So in order for there to be movement, let's use bending and straightening your elbow as an example. So if you're standing with your arms straight, just hanging down by your sides, if you ever saw Seinfeld, it's the way Raquel Welch walked, okay, from that episode. All right, from this position, if you want to bring your hand up to your shoulder, you have to contract the biceps. That's the muscles on the front of the arm. In order for there to be movement, the triceps, the muscles on the back of the arm, have to relax. This is called reciprocal inhibition. One muscle fires and the other muscle basically shuts off. So in our example, we bring one hand to the shoulder. The elbow is now about 45 degrees to the practitioner, and they will continue to bring the elbow up, and AIS says that this makes for a more efficient stretch. All right, nice. Now, with the MYK system, we have an active component where the person moves themselves. We also have a passive component where we move the person, but we never go past what their range of motion is. And we don't even have to stretch the muscles. We can contract the muscles and get the same result. So we're not working on a muscle or a joint or an area. We're working to get a signal change along that nerve pathway. That's kind of what we're wanting to do. All right, number three, incremental assists. So whatever your range of motion is, they're going to go another 2 to 3 degrees past that. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And they say with each stretch, you can get 2 to 3 degrees more. So this goes with what I was just saying. So MYK, we don't do this. So not that one is right or wrong. We just don't do that. We'll just go to what their range of motion is and then stop. So we don't go past that. Number 4 is gentle motion. So the work is done pretty slow with AIS. If you move a muscle too fast, you're going to get to the end range of that muscle, or if you even get into a stretch of that muscle, if you go too fast, things will contract to prevent injury. So they want to do it real slow, and not go too far so that this contraction doesn't happen. If the contraction happens, they call it a myotatic stretch reflex, or some just say stretch reflex. Now, with the MYK system, we elongate or shorten the muscle. We don't actually have to stretch it, so the speed doesn't really come into play. We can go as fast or as slow as we like, which I like because I like to get the person in and out of the office as quick as possible, because it makes it that much cooler if we can get them out of the office really, really fast and they feel better. All right. Number 5, brief duration. The key to avoiding this stretch reflex altogether is to do a 1 to 2 second stretch. Static stretching, on the other hand, where you just hold it, is usually done for 30 to 60 seconds or longer. Many times this will cause that stretch reflex to kick in. The article goes on to say that if you stay in a prolonged stretch and this reflex kicks in, now the muscle is contracting. So you start stretching the ligaments and the tendons, which lead to instability in that area and cause future problems. So when I read that, it made me think. I was like, this kind of makes you think. Prolonged stretching is kind of like holding on to anger or resentment. It's only going to cause you a problem in the future. So you got to let that stuff go. Just let it go. Yeah. All right. With the MYK system, we don't even hold it for 1 to 2 seconds. If I take someone to end range, I let it go and then I come back and I repeat this real quick. Quick. So as I'm stretching the muscle, I'm also stimulating the opposite muscle. Well, the same muscle. I'm stimulating the muscle. And so it's like on, off. It's like do, real quick. We can do it boom, 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 real fast. Number 6, multiple repetitions. If you do the static stretching, you're going to increase flexibility. If you do that, will you increase flexibility? Yeah, you will. It's going to take time, but you'll get there. So what they say is that by doing 6 to 10 repetitions of short stretches, you can increase range of motion in a faster time frame. Now, I'm going to agree with this. With the MYK system, we do 5 passive and 7 active movements per muscle without holding it for 2 seconds. And we get super fast results with range of motion and increasing range of motion. Now that's interesting to me because I've never thought of it in these terms before. That one aspect of the MYK system treatment is that we're not allowing the stretch reflex to happen. Nice. I like that. All right. Number 7, deep breathing. So this is something that I get asked about all the time. Do patients have to breathe on each stretch? With AIS, they do. They coordinate the movements with deep breathing. They say the deep breathing will increase oxygen to the muscles, reduce fatigue, and help release muscle tension and fascial restrictions. With the MYK system, I don't get into the breathing aspect because we do the movements so fast. If we had a person try and coordinate their breathing with the move, they'd pass out. 100%, they'd pass out. So we don't get into that. We do not get into the breathing aspect of it. Why do people want to get this treatment? What does it fix? So AIS is going to help with flexibility. That's not a surprise. That'll happen with any stretching program. They go on to say that in addition to helping the muscles, it also helps develop healthy joints. When the practitioner places repeated tension on the fibers within the joints themselves are exercised and strengthened. Joint sensitivity and irritation will often disappear with this type of stretching. They say they're stretching one side and stretching the other, and this brings balance to the joint, strengthening the other. Stretching one side and strengthening the other, and this brings balance into the joints. It'll help prevent injuries. The muscles are becoming more flexible, therefore less vulnerable to injury. They're also becoming stronger and can absorb a greater amount of force. This is all from this article. I do think that they have exercises that a person can do with bands and different things to strengthen specific muscles. I know it can't just be that they're firing the muscle and counting that as strengthening. So if firing the muscle was all you had to do, then we'd all be walking around and we would all look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? We would all be huge if that was the case. So I don't think that's what they're talking about there. But they go on to say that it will help reduce pain as well. And I can see that because sometimes just stretching will make the pain go away or go down or completely go away. So a quick list of conditions that they say they help. So sciatica, shin splints, bunions, golfer's elbow, hamstring issues, shoulder impingement, chronic neck and low back problems, and I'm sure there's a lot more that they can go through. With the MYK system, we cover these things as well. We also have extreme confidence in treating like peripheral neuropathy, which is numbness or tingling anywhere in the body. We get rid of that so easily. Headaches, simple. I'm surprised if somebody comes in with a headache, we do a treatment and they stand up to leave and they still have a headache. That normally doesn't happen. Acid reflux, incontinence, there's more, but that's a pretty decent list right there. What does the practitioner do? This is from a person that does the technique. It's from their website, and they have a protocol written out. Basically, the treatment will consist of you stretching. You'll be assisted in a little further stretch for about 2 seconds, release, and repeat. Hey, that's kind of like what they put on a shampoo bottle. Oh, no, wait, that's rinse and repeat. Okay, never mind. All right, so if we get detailed with the treatment, the patient will stretch first, either under their own power or by using a band to help them. The practitioner will then assist you to go a little bit further. And this is done pretty slowly because quick movements are counterproductive. You're going to exhale as you stretch, and they're going to hold the stretch for no longer than 2 seconds. You're going to relax all the way back to the starting position, and you're going to repeat this up to 10 times or until you no longer feel an uncomfortable pull at your end range. Now, you come into the office in loose clothes. You'll be moving, not just lying on the table. You'll stay fully clothed, and so there's no need for oils and creams. And the treatments can take up to 90 minutes. So they said, be sure that you're hydrated and you're fed before you come in for your treatment. With the MYK system, our treatments are 15 minutes or less, depending on the nerve level that you're treating. Now, like AIS, we don't use oils and creams, and the person stays fully clothed, and you're not just going to lie there. You're going to be moving around during the treatment as well. What professions do they teach? How many CEUs do you get? And how much do the classes cost? From what I could find, massage therapists can get their CEUs for the classes, but they say that these other professions also normally take these classes as well. And so I don't know if these professions get CEUs or not, but they say they take them. So athletic trainers, personal trainers, strength trainers, Pilates instructors, physical therapists, chiropractors, and nurses. Now, with the MYK system, we provide CEUs to a lot of those professions as well. Their classes are about 24 hours and cost about $650. The MYK system classes are about 20 hours and cost about $599. So we're real close with the number of hours and the cost of the classes. Now, Aaron is still teaching the classes right now, but only in Sarasota, Florida. I think it's cool to always go learn from the person who developed it. So he's getting up there in age. So if you're interested in taking a class from him, I would sign up sooner rather than later if you want to learn this from the person who developed it, which I always think is cool. Now, with the MYK system, we do a lot of our classes via live webinar. The feedback that I've gotten is that if you have someone to practice on, there's really no difference in learning the information by a live webinar or if we go to a hotel conference room. Now, with that being said, we will also travel to your clinic and do an in-person class if you have 8 or more people. So it's something to think about. I will come directly to you and do an in-person class. Okay, let's recap the similarities and differences between AIS, active isolated stretching, and the MYK system. One big difference in the treatment is AIS is just stretching and it's working an area. So if you come in with a shoulder complaint, they're going to work everything around that shoulder to see if it can move better. I don't believe that they work or treat on the other side. And I think they only treat the side that's having the problem. Now, I could be wrong on that, but that's what I think. You come in with this shoulder, the right shoulder hurting, they're only going to focus on the right shoulder and get that thing moving better. Now, with the MYK system, if somebody comes in with a shoulder problem, we're probably going to do a C5 treatment. That's the normal one. There's some other ones we can do, but that's the normal one, which means we're going to treat the C5 pathway, and there's 31 different muscles on that pathway. Now, we're going to treat bilaterally, so that means we're actually going to treat 62 different muscles because we're always treating both sides. With a C5 treatment, we'll work from top of the neck all the way down to basically the elbow on both sides of the body. So the treatment time is different also. So they say that it takes about 90 minutes to do a treatment. If we stay with our shoulder complaint, a C5 treatment takes about 10 minutes. Now, similarly, neither technique uses oils or creams, and both are done through the clothes. So that's good. I like that. Now, how we treat is different. So with AIS, the person's going to initiate the movement and goes to their end range of motion, and then the practitioner will go another 2 to 3 degrees more, and they hold this stretch for about 2 seconds, and then they go all the way back down to the resting position, and then they'll repeat that about 10 times. With the MYK system, we have passive stretches. The patient is passive. We move them through a range of motion, and then we have an active movement where the patient is active. They move themselves. So they can, you can stimulate the muscle at any time during the movement. I like to do it closer to the end range, but it really doesn't matter. You can stimulate the muscle at any point. Another difference is we don't go past the person's range of motion. We stay within their range of motion. Instead, with AIS, they go another 2 to 3 degrees past the person's range of motion. So another similarity, it's kind of similar, is they say they do 6 to 10 stretches per muscle. We do 5 passive and 7 active, basically per muscle. So you can do more than that. You can do a little bit less than that, but that's about the average that we do and find that we get really, really good results. Another difference is they breathe with the stretches. We don't do that because we don't hold the stretches for any length of time. And again, we don't want our people to hyperventilate and pass out by trying to breathe too quickly with the movements. Now, the conditions that we say that we treat are slightly different. So AIS goes after what I call the basic problems that people have: shin splints, shoulder issues, hip problems, low back pain, things like that. With the MYK system, we treat all that, but we also, like I said earlier, we get phenomenal results with things like peripheral neuropathy, headaches, and then autonomic nervous system issues, which is this is how we classify it, which is things like incontinence, acid reflux, asthma, things like that, things that we say are more organ-related problems. Now, another difference is they provide CEUs for massage therapists, from what I can tell, but the other professions take it because they want to. We provide CEUs to all the professions that are listed in the notes below. The hours of the class are pretty close. They're pretty close. AIS is about 24 hours, and MYK system is about 20 hours. They're about $650. We're about $599. So pretty close. We're pretty similar on that. Another similarity is if you take either class, you learn from the person who actually developed it. Now, Aaron only teaches in Sarasota, Florida, so if you want to take a class from him before he stops teaching, you better jump on it. Now, I can see how AIS would be very beneficial if you don't have full range of motion in some area of your body. So I think it's a very, very beneficial technique, and I can see why it's successful. So if you have not done this yet, be sure to hit the subscribe or the follow button. And if you made it this far, smile.